Hey, welcome to the Mass Deception. On screen we have, what is weight? A definition of weight. Here it says, this is from nasa.gov, weight is a force caused by the gravitational attraction of the Earth. Okay? Then we move on. Mass, definition. Mass is the amount of matter in an object. Okay? Then we have this, which shows a diagram of a lady on the Earth. Her weight on the Earth is around 560 newtons. Her weight on the Moon is only 90 newtons. Her mass is always 56 kg. Right? So kilograms don't weigh the same on the Moon as they do on Earth in the heliocentric belief. Another definition of mass. Definition, it's the quantity of matter, right? Mass is a quantity of matter, right? The other definition, mass is the amount of matter in an object, and in this one it's the quantity of matter. The instrument used for measuring it is scale or balance. Unit of measurement is kilograms. So they measure kilograms on a weighing scale, but yet mass, according to this, is completely separate from weight, and your weight is defined by gravity, but yet they're using a weighing scales to weigh mass with kilograms. We move on. Volume and mass. Volume is the amount of space an object occupies. It is usually measured in cm3 or ml. Mass is the amount of matter that makes up an object. It is usually measured in grams or kilograms. The mass of an object depends on the number and types of particles it contains. So it's the amount of matter that makes up an object. Okay, it's defined here as the amount of matter that makes up an object. Here is defined as the quantity of matter, and there is the amount of matter in an object. So there's the amount of matter in an object, the quantity of matter, and we have the amount of matter, right? So they're kind of similar, but not the same, exactly. Now, matter, anything that has mass and occupies space is defined as matter. Okay, so anything that has mass and occupies space as occupies space is defined as matter. How does matter have mass? Mass is defined as the amount of matter in a volume. How does matter have mass? You know, it's just adding mass to everything. It's like adding sugar to everything. Make everything sweet, add mass to it. We move on. What is density? Density is defined as the mass of an object per unit volume. It is the relationship between the mass and volume of a certain object. So what does that mean? If the molecules are more compact or packed together, it is said to have more density. If they are loosely packed together, they are said to be less dense. Okay, so this is less dense, more dense, and more dense. So gas is less dense than liquid. Liquid is less dense than solid. Right, solid is the most dense. Right. I asked, how do you measure weight? Okay, the unit of measurement for weight is that of force, which in the International System of Units, SI, is the Newton. For example, an object with a mass of 1 kilogram has a weight of about 9.8 newtons on the surface of the Earth, and about 1/6 as much on the Moon. Right? This is the thing. This mass is such a load of nonsense. Scales. On Earth we use scales to measure mass and weight. Right? They're admitting it here. We can use spring scales or hydraulic scales, to name a few, because we're on Earth. An object with 100 kg mass is said to weigh 100 kg. So they're admitting here that 1 kg or 100 kg will weigh that exact amount on Earth. So let's go back to this. So we're back to weight is force caused by the gravitational attraction of the Earth. So everything, mass is part of everything except for weight. Mass, the one thing that's separate from mass, is weight. So mass is involved in everything except for weight. So mass can be involved in matter, volume, density. You know, like a mass can be, you can describe mass, or a mass. You can say you can describe something as an amount of matter, an accumulation of matter. But mass is also mole, because mole can be a calculation of matter. That's also mass. Mass can be described as a volume. It can refer to, rather than me describe this, it can refer to a volume. So it refers to matter, it refers to density, it refers to volume, it refers to calculated amounts of matter, it refers to an accumulation of matter. Mass refers to everything except for weight. It never refers to weight. It's always kept separate from weight, because weight is a fantasy force nowadays effect, right, from outer space sky vacuum. Okay. Now, the removal of mass. So, if we remove mass completely from the equation, we end up with the amount of matter that occupies a volume. That's what you end up with. Once you remove mass, you end up with the amount of matter that occupies a volume. And the density of matter within the volume defines the weight of the And the density of matter within the volume defines the weight of the substance or object. So a substance or throat dry. So a substance or object's weight will be defined by the inherent density of matter found within its volume. I'll say that again. So a substance or object's weight will be defined by the inherent density of matter found within its volume. Mass is a deflector for gravity, and gravity is a belief. Mass attaches itself to everything but weight, leaving weight to be defined by a fantasy from an entropy-defying outer space. Mass deflects away from any explanation of weight by realistic means. I'll read that again. Mass is a deflector for gravity, and gravity is a belief. Mass attaches itself to everything but weight, leaving weight to be defined by a fantasy from an entropy-defying outer space. Mass deflects away from any explanation of weight by realistic means. Weight is defined by no more than matter density and nothing else. I'll read all that one more time before we finish. The removal of mass. So once we remove mass from the situation completely, right, this is what we get. If we remove mass completely from the equation, we end up with the amount of matter that occupies a volume. Very simple. Simplifies it straight away. And the density of matter within the volume defines the weight of the substance or object. So, a substance or object's weight will be defined by the inherent density of matter found within its volume. Basically what that says, the part in red, is that the amount of dense matter found within the volume of an object or substance defines how heavy it will be, not a fantasy force or fantasy effect from a sky vacuum that defies entropy. Mass is a deflector for gravity. It deflects everything away from weight. It deflects away from weight constantly. So everything, it gets into everything. It has to be part of everything, but it's never part of weight. It's always kept separate from weight, as they need weight to be defined by a gravitational force/effect now. Used to be force, now effect. And gravity is a belief. It's just a belief. but they need weight to be separate from mass. Mass attaches itself to everything but weight, right? It wants to be everywhere, but it won't be part of weight, leaving weight to be defined by a fantasy from an entropy-defying outer space, right? So weight is defined by some effect from a place that can't exist and used to be a force from that place. Mass deflects away from any explanation of weight by realistic terms. The more mass is involved, the less realism will be involved. Mass is a made-up nonsense term. It has no place in our world. It needs to go. Weight is defined by no more than matter density and nothing else. We already have the word matter. Why would we need mass? We already have the word volume. Why would we need mass? We already have the word density. Why would we need mass? It's an unneeded word that has connotations to it. That these connotations, refer to this gravitational attraction nonsense, right? Whether you want to call it forces or effects, a force or an effect, right? It's all nonsense, the whole lot of it. And mass allows it to continue to be part of our world. So mass needs to be removed.